The St. Louis Blues are quietly cooking as we get a huge update on a Blues prospect as he speaks out on his future with the team. We're going to break down everything you need to know on this defenseman that's looking to make an immediate impact on this Blues team and in the future. We're going to break down everything you need to know and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, we're trying to reach our goal of 3,500 subscribers. I actually spoke to my friend that's a Chicago Blackhawks fan. He said there's no way we can reach it. So if you want to go prove a Blackhawks fan wrong, I mean, everyone wants to, go to hit that free subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. And in return, we'll give you updates from all around the Blues this offseason and into next year. But with that, Darius, let's just hop straight into this. And before we get into this prospect, we did see the Blues did drop their full schedule going into next season. The first game, October 9th, they're taking on the Minnesota Wild, which should be an easy win for the St. Louis Blues. So let's be honest here. They're coming out with big aspirations on what they achieved last season, and we're going to break down a couple highlights going into next season. We do know opening night, October 9th versus Minnesota. There's going to be a break for the Olympics, February 5th to 25th, but the biggest one I'm really excited for is the first rematch of the playoff series versus the Winnipeg Jets on December 17th. Now, Darius, what is your thoughts on this? Because in my opinion, listen, the Blues are going to be very good this year. They're going to look for another run. What is your thought about that one matchup in particular and how sweet it's going to be when they win it?
There's a couple interesting things with the schedule this year. First of all, the Olympic break is back, I guess, first of all. And second of all, it's backloading the schedule a lot. So there's a lot of teams, including the Blues, that are going to have a ton of games in March into April. And at the start of the season as well, there's teams that have like 17 games in a month, which is insane. So that's something to look out for. There's going to be more jam-packed months throughout the season. But like you mentioned, the one thing that I'm scheduling, in my calendar, circling on my calendar, is December 17th against the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be, some type of redemption game. Of course, it's not the same. It's not the playoffs, but would be nice to pick up a win in that game against the Winnipeg Jets. So that's the one that I have circled on my calendar. There's a couple others, like you mentioned, against the Chicago Blackhawks, but, they're not the same team that they used to be. So it's not as exciting as an event or as a game, but obviously the Winnipeg Jets and definitely the start of the season. I feel like people are just fiending to get back after how the Blues finished last season, making the playoffs. And the team is just better. It's just the fact of the matter. So everyone's excited for October 8th.
And I mean, Blues fans, what game are you scheduling on your calendar? What are you looking forward to the most? Is it the season finale when they go into the playoffs? Because that is 100% happening again. But with that, let's just hop straight into an article that we've seen drop today. And this is going to be linked down in the description, where we did see a full article on Lukas Fischer coming out on a Blues prospect. Now, going into it, he does say a good few quotes, and I love every single one of these. I think it was a good step in the right direction. I think this year is going to be another big step, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, with Fischer, we've seen him have a good year in the OHL, captaining the Sting as well. 15 goals, 37 points, minus 19, but let's be honest, that's more of a team stat. Playing for 3 games in the AHL as well. What is your thoughts on the second round pick that's looking to make an impact on a already very crowded, which is a good thing, Blues blue line?
Well, we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks at this point, a lot of different prospects. And of course, there's a lot of them that stand out above the rest. I mean, if you want to talk about prospects, you wouldn't really mention Snuggerud. I think at this point, he's going to make the NHL squad, of course, and made that jump last season. We've been talking a lot about Carbonneau, but this is a guy that's kind of lost in everything right now. And I feel like he's going to be another solid player for the St. Louis Blues as he makes his way up through the system. So if you take a look at his stats last season, nothing crazy. He's a pretty good two-way defenseman. He can chip in for goals. Obviously, he had 15 on the year last year in the OHL. Again, it is junior hockey, so take it with a grain of salt. Of course, you would like to see a lot of these guys, especially if they're offensively minded, put up a ton of points in junior hockey before they make that leap. But keep in mind, this was a bad team, and they missed the playoffs. And only 2 teams missed the playoffs in the OHL, or 4, I guess, 2 in each conference. So keep that in mind. They missed the playoffs, and when you're on a bad team in the OHL, you are on a bad team. I'll tell you that. So, he put up some good numbers. I think he's poised to be a pretty good defenseman in the league. Some of his skills will translate, I think, to pro hockey. So, and it already has. He signed his ELC at the end of last year. He played 3 games in the AHL, so he's already had a taste of pro hockey. Obviously, didn't put up any points, but just dipping his foot into things per se. So, he had a pretty good season. I think he's going to be making an impact especially at the pro level this coming season. And I'm excited to see how he continues to progress, because I can see this as another prospect in the Blues system that could, in a couple of years' time, make an impact on the NHL squad. So again, keep in mind, the points don't jump off the page at you or anything like that. They're serviceable points, that's for sure. Could two-way defenseman, but he was playing on an awful team. Keep that in mind. He's finally made the jump to pro.
I mean, 15 goals from a Blue Liners Knights, and that's over double what he had the previous year with the Sting as well, so progressing very well. We do know that he is a bit of a shutdown guy that does surprise opponents with his powerful long stride, catching up to them, stealing the puck before they can react. This is a Blues team that feels like they have prospects at every single level and at every single tier. This is the team that's going to be very good, not only next season, but going farther into it. But we see another quote from Fischer. The biggest thing for me this year, if I'm going to be my last year in junior, I want to make sure I leave it better than I entered it. I want the people of the Sting that they look back and say they thought of me. I think most important thing for me is to look back thinking that I was a good person. That's what wins the most to me. And I mean, this is a very good quote. It's a humbling quote, and it's a quote that shows the leadership. He was the captain of this team. Yes, the team was not the best, but he was the one helping them along throughout the season, seeing the leadership, seeing how much he is maturing year after year. I think there's a lot of good to come from him. And I mean, the biggest thing is, listen, this is a blue line that is quite crowded right now. We know at the moment with Mayu coming in, Tucker coming in. What's your thoughts on this team? I mean, listen, Cam Fowler eventually has to retire. Hopefully not soon. I mean, he was outstanding last year. But could you see this next wave, including Fischer, being the next up once we see some of these blue liners starting to go closer to retirement?
Well, at some point, yes. I do think that there's other prospects that are ahead of him in the lineup, I guess, per se, or in the depth chart would probably be a better way to put that. But I do think there's a couple more prospects that are ahead of him, but that doesn't mean that he's like a project player or anything like that. He's also not a superstar, and he's not going to make the NHL next season, although a lot of guys could surprise, but I don't see that happening. But he's going to continue his development, and that's fine. And he's going to do it at the AHL level, and he's a very good defenseman who I think at some point will make an impact. So the Blues, we know, we've been talking about it, needed help on the back end. That's why they made some of the decisions that they made so far this offseason. But they have a lot of guys who are coming up through the system. They needed immediate help. They made some of those moves, but a guy like this is making his way through the system, continuing to develop, and he's going to work on different aspects of his game. But to get back to what you were saying too, I love that quote. That's a great quote. Like, just showing his leadership qualities, the fact that he doesn't really care about, how many points he puts up or anything like that. Obviously, he wants to do that. He wants to help his team win, but he cares about his legacy and what he left behind in Sarnia with the Sting as the captain of that team. And I'm sure he's going to want to do the same thing at the AHL level. And then, of course, the same thing when he eventually makes the NHL. So I'm excited to see how he progresses, if he can make the NHL at some point down the line. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but this is another really solid prospect, not just on the ice, but has solid qualities about him as a human being off the ice. And I think the Blues want to continue to add quality people with high character in the organization.
And I mean, Fischer did sign his ELC this past year, so he is locked up on this 3-year deal. On his ELC, we could see towards the end of this looking like one of the better contracts if he can get into the NHL lineup. If not, he's going to be very impactful in the AHL level. That's going to be a very good team as well. But Blues fans, what is your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on the schedule that we did see drop today? What game are you looking forward to? Who is your favorite Blues prospect right now? We went through so many guys: Dvorsky, Carbonneau, Mayu. There's so many players within this system, and there's anyone you want us to talk about in particular, go down and leave a comment down below, because we love talking prospects and just talking Blues for you guys. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.